Good morning, you guys. So I wanted to make a video about why so many women don't like sex while others love to fuck, and why so many women fake their orgasms. And I would like to hear your opinions. If you're a woman, why you don't like sex or why you fake your orgasms. I will tell you from my own self why I didn't like sex, what made me not like it. And these will be in no particular order. Number one, hooking up with a guy and he sucks in bed, and it was an utter disappointment. He sucked in bed because his dick didn't work, he didn't care about my pleasure, pretty much that's it. He didn't dominate. To me, a man who's good in bed is dominant and sensual, dominant and affectionate. The other reason that made me not like sex is the guy would have sex with me, he'd be great in bed, or I liked him, and then he would blow me off. I don't like that kind of sex. The other kind of sex I didn't like was if I was in a relationship with someone, and I'm speaking of my marriage, where the only time he touched me was when he wanted to stick his dick in me, which was pretty regularly. And I was a good wife and I let him, but did I like that sex? I was thinking if I ever turn my book, The Fuck List, into a movie, it's going to start like this. It's going to start with a woman laying on her back looking at the ceiling, all bored, and on top of her is this man, and he's just like this, and he's not even looking at her. He's got his eyes closed, and he's just humping like a rabbit. A lot of guys fuck like that. And she's bored out of her mind. That's really bad sex. Is that the kind of sex you're giving your wife? Just get your dick in and out. When men are obsessed with their penis, they're afraid if I don't stick it in right away, it's going to get soft again. Or this is just a physical thing for my release. A woman's not going to like sex. You got to be able to last long enough until she's had enough. You've got to be able to control your penis. You've got to be able to control your ejaculation. You cannot give a woman quickies. The only women that like quickies are women who are not enjoying the sex they're having, because when you're quick, it's done and you can get the hell away from her because she didn't want to fuck you in the first place. And that's the problem that a lot of men, they're clueless. Are like, well, if I have money and status, a woman will want to fuck me. She'll endure you. The passport bros, oh, I'll go to Thailand, I'll get some really loyal woman and she'll want to fuck me. She'll endure you, but not very long. Pretty soon, she's got a pain and an ache, and she's got to sleep on the sofa, and she's got a headache. You cannot monetize your way into a woman wanting to fuck you. You've got to have some bedroom skills. Now, what kind of skills am I talking about that you as a man need to want to have a woman want to fuck you? And I'm not going to talk about hookups, because most women, 80 or 90% of women, and even most men would prefer sex in a relationship. It just gets better. You know what the other person likes. You feel more trusting, more relaxed, and more safe. A lot of men feel very anxious in a hookup situation. They also feel anxiety. Is my penis going to work? Am I going to know what she likes? People start feeling more relaxed and enjoying the sex more in a relationship. So that's what I want to talk about. But even if you're just having casual, because if you're having casual sex, a lot of times people are really turned on because of the novelty or the forbiddenness of it, or they're getting revenge on someone, or they were out drinking or whatever. But having a woman want to fuck you that you've been in a relationship with for a few years or many years, if she still does, you guys who are watching this video in this situation, drop your tips. She's not just laying there. I'm not talking about a woman who is feeling sorry for you or doing her wifely duty or laying there. I'm talking about a woman who actually grabs you and say, let's fuck, or I love your cock, even after years of marriage. Okay? That exists. Okay? But a lot of women stop wanting to fuck their husbands because they're no longer fuckable. Okay, so first of all, guys are very forgiving. They'll fuck anything. They'll fuck a grapefruit. They'll fuck their wife, even if she's gained weight, a lot of them, but not all men. But women are very visual too. You have to remember, when it comes to sex, we're in our animal spirits. And well, animal spirits means that we evolved before the agricultural age. People were living in tribes, and everyone was fucking everyone. I did an interview the other day with Dr. Robert Glover, author of No More Mr. Nice Guy. And he was explaining a little bit about the history, our sexual history, because one of his big things is stopping the shame that these nice guys have about their sexuality and that we're sexual beings. He said that Mother Nature likes lots of penises and lots of vaginas, so in early human evolution, everyone was fucking everyone. And how do we know this? Because of sperm competition. The men whose sperm are the most mobile and strongest would fertilize the egg, and all the other men's sperms in her vagina lost. So women were not born to be monogamous. At least in these early ages, women were allowed to be sexual creatures, and they liked fucking lots of men, and they liked having lots of penises in them. Until what happened? Why are women shamed now for being sluts, whores? Why are women shamed for that? Well, the patriarchy came along. Now, when I say patriarchy, I'm not talking about men being bad. It's a system, in my understanding, I didn't Google it just now, but it was a system in which some men, not all men, a lot of men were left out. A lot of men under the patriarchy had no power either. They were slaves and servants and poor, paupers. But there were enough men who were able to own land, because the agricultural age, they were able to own land and do farming, and they owned the land, the cattle, the women, and the children. And women also became property. Okay, women were owned. They had no voting rights, legal rights, financial rights, divorce rights. They were property. They went from the father's house into the husband's house. And because women were property and men wanted to assure their paternity, they had to repress the female sex drive. And how do you repress female sex drive? And religion did this too, by shaming women for wanting to fuck. By shaming their sexuality, repressing their sexuality. And from childhood on, I'm still trying to overcome this now. It's very deep in our society. And American society was founded by Puritans. It's deep in our culture that we have this repressed sexuality where we shouldn't like to fuck, but yet there's porn everywhere and sex everywhere. So there's this kind of sexual dichotomy. And when women became property and their sexuality was repressed, I think we also lost a lot of knowledge. I'm guessing in those olden ages that we had some knowledge around female pleasure, women speaking up, how to pleasure a woman, and the mystery and the spirituality and the sensuality of the sexual journey and our sexuality. I think that's all gone kind of underground, where in porn, you don't see any of this. It's just like a quick pump, pump, pump physical thing. And I think we've lost the magic of it all. So I forgot where I was. I get on these little tangents and I forgot to come back to my main point. I forgot what I was saying. My main point of this video, though, is why do a lot of women not want to have sex? Okay, animal spirits, fuckable. You have to be fuckable. So, sperm competition. Women aren't going to desire you because they love you or feel sorry for you or because you're a good friend. You have to be fuckable. You have to be in your animal spirit. What does that mean? To me, I'll just give you my own personal opinion. I like a man who's dominant and affectionate and physically strong and confident and likes women. That's what I've seen. And it doesn't matter about your height or your money. Okay? You can be at the gym, you can be the bouncer at the bar, you can be the guy in the coffee shop. Women will notice you. If you are strong, and I'm not talking about huge muscles, just have some muscles, wear a fitted shirt. Get rid of all your loose, baggy shirts. Get some fitted shirts, a decent pair of shoes, and start working out. So you feel good in your body, and now you're masculine. And you're going to be attractive. You've got to be attractive. I remember when I was married, when my husband gained a few pounds, I didn't want to fuck him. He was unattractive. Who wants a fucking unattractive guy? There's this myth that women will fuck you because they love you. No, they'll lay there because they're sorry for you and they're glad you're giving her a quickie so you can get off of her quick. Women would rather have no sex than bad sex. So when I hear about a woman who doesn't want to have sex, it's either because she was sexually traumatized and hasn't dealt with that, or she's being fucked badly. Women who are fucked well, and women have this tremendous capacity for sexual pleasure, more than any man. Tremendous capacity for orgasm and for pleasure, but you're not going to get that out of her in a 1-minute quickie. You've got to be able to have a long sexual encounter. You've got to be able to get her turned on. And she has to trust you. And she has to feel safe with you. And she's not going to get there if the only time you touch her is when you want to stick your dick in. You know, if you ignore her, if you're not affectionate with her, and if you have no dick game. Dick game meaning that you're in control of your penis, you're not a quick ejaculator, you're not giving her quickies, and you care about her pleasure. And a lot of guys don't. They don't know how to do it. They're so worried about just getting off or making it all about their dick, they forget about the woman. And I think that's why women don't like sex. I think a lot of men are just giving us very bad sex. I was an escort many years, and now I have my sugar daddies. And by the way, my sugar daddies, almost every one of them, is much younger than I am. They're younger. Okay? So for all the guys who are like, well, your sugar daddies are 70, who would want you? Yes, younger men want me. Okay? Because men, even if I'm super old and wrinkly, men will still want to be my sugar daddies. Why will men want to be my sugar daddies? I think even when I'm 80, then I'll have, as long as I take care of myself and I'm like full of aliveness and joy in my life, men will still want to fuck me. Why? Because men are drawn to a sensual, sexual woman who wants to submit and open and enjoy the sexual journey and desire him and be sexual with him. Men love that. A beautiful woman who enjoys sex with him. Men love that. And a lot of men are getting wives who are just laying there or who lost interest in sex. And I'm going to put a lot of it on the guy for having ignored her. I'm going to put a lot of it on the women for getting complacent or letting themselves be overworked with their jobs, with their home life, which is all masculine energy, not knowing how to get into their feminine energy. And then also a lot of men just are no longer fuckable. They're no longer muscular, attractive. Okay, here's a good tip to know if you're fuckable. You go out into the world, the grocery store, the gym, wherever you are, and women notice you. Because if other women aren't noticing you, your wife will probably not want to fuck you. And if she does, she's just going to lay there. Let's lay there. Look at the ceiling and counting to 20 because you'll be done real quick. I think that what we as women have to do, and I make a lot of videos on this topic about the differences in our sexuality. What we women have to do is not cater our sexual experiences with men around these guys that are giving us quickies. We cannot center our sexual experience encounters with men around their penis needing a quick release. We cannot have sex that doesn't feel good. The moment it doesn't feel good, ladies, we have to speak up. You know, I need you to slow down, or even just say, no, this doesn't feel good. Sometimes it just comes out like that. I have to say that even with my sugar daddies, because they don't know what I like. When I was an escort or whatever, the men always, and every guy is so full in his head, like, oh yeah, I'm going to treat you better than all these other guys. They're so fucking deluded. All of the guys treated me well. You're not that special, okay? They all treated me well, but they didn't all have good dick game. Okay, good dick game is, it's not just about your dick. You're calm, you're sexual, and you want to enjoy me. Okay, you got to be able to want to enjoy the woman's body rather than seeing her as a receptacle for your dick to get off. So ladies, this is, okay, I'm going to come up with some tips on the fly. In order for us to want to have sex with our boyfriend or husband, we need to have our fire stoked. He's got to be able to, you know, kiss us on the neck on the way out the door and be like, tonight, I'm going to fuck you real good tonight, or something. Something to create a little bit of her looking forward to what's it going to be like, or him saying, we're that sexy little thing tonight. I'm going to, you know, put the kids to bed early and I'm going to take you in the bedroom. Or however you do it, but you've got to stoke the fire and tell her she's beautiful and take her out sometimes. Not being a people pleaser, but you cannot just approach a woman sexually if you've been ignoring her all week. So usually we want our fire stoked, and usually we like a man's gaze. I love a man's gaze on me, not just random guys staring at me in the store, but if I'm being intimate with a man, I love him looking at my body and enjoying my body. I want a man to enjoy my body in a way that's going to feel good to me. So it starts with his words, it starts with his gaze, it starts with his touch on other parts of my body, not just going right to my genitals. Ladies, see if you agree with this, if your husband is doing this with you. If he's just coming up to you and sticking his dick in, I could see why you wouldn't like that. It starts with the words, the gaze, the touch that's not around the genitals, and him really enjoying your body. And whether he has his orgasm first or you have your orgasm first, that he cares whether you even want one. And that he touches you in a way that feels good to where you're like, I want to have an orgasm with this guy right now. I'm turned on enough. Because I've been with guys before where I wasn't really that turned on. And I was like, I'd rather you don't even touch my pussy because you do not know what you're doing down there. And let's just make this about you. Let's just make this about you. Because your touch is a little bit gropey, it's a little bit, you don't know what you're doing, it's a little bit too pokey, it's a little bit too whatever, but a lot of these guys, you can teach them. And we as women have to stop caretaking men in the bedroom. We have to stop thinking that they're these overly sensitive little girls who can't handle some truths. Now, I would not say anything too offensive while you're in the bedroom with your husband or your boyfriend, but outside the bedroom, say, you know, I'd like to have a talk about some things I really like and some things I don't like. When would be a good time for us to have this talk? And then I want to hear what you like and what you don't like. And be willing to have that kind of conversation and just be sensitive, because people are very vulnerable around their sexuality. But it could be telling him things like, I really want you to slow down. I don't like it when you come so fast. Let him figure out how to last longer. Men love a challenge, and I think that to many women, we caretake our men sexually. When faking an orgasm is caretaking him, it's taking him, letting him off the hook for learning how to be better. It's emotional caretaking. It's treating him like a helpless little infant. I've done this too. Oh, he can't handle it. Well, if you can't handle it, get the fuck out of my bed. They do want the feedback. They want to know how to please us. And they can't if we don't tell them. And I think a lot of times we don't tell them because we don't give ourselves permission to even think what we don't like. Because if I figure out what I don't like and then I have to tell them, now I'm no longer, I might upset him or emasculate him or whatever. But I will tell you, a lot of guys don't have to be told. The guys that are good in bed are the guys that are really embodied. They are comfortable with their sexuality and they're empathetic. The guys that are bad in bed are not empathetic because they can't even tell that you're not liking it, that you're faking it, that you're giving them pity sex. They don't care. They would rather take that than nothing at all because they're people pleasers. They're not willing to find out why you don't like it and tell you, you know what? I'm not going to fuck you when you're just laying there. We're going to go to therapy. And if the therapy doesn't work, I'm going to divorce you because I'm a sexual man and I only want a relationship with sex. Pretty much has to be our attitude. I have talked to so many men whose wives don't want sex, and I asked them the same thing that a therapist asked me when I went to her when I was trying to figure out if I should divorce. And I was trying to tell her that I told her I wanted good sex. And she asked me, have you ever had that with him? And that was like an eye-opener. When I ask guys that, it does the same thing to them. People never think about that. So I asked guys, did she ever like it? And you know what? No, she never liked it. She never liked it, or she only liked it a little bit. And then when the kids came along, she liked it even less. And when menopause came along, she liked it even less, and now it's not happening at all. And these men are staying with these women because they like the other aspects of their relationship, and sex isn't everything, or they have kids, or they've built a life together, or she's a really good friend, But I left my husband over the bad sex. I was no longer willing to put up with his quickies and his unwillingness to go to therapy and work on things. By the way, for all those guys who are like, oh, you damn women, you leave men, I tried to work on things in my marriage, and I kept saying, what can I do to be a better wife? He wouldn't tell me. The only thing he would ever say was cook more. But I cooked already. That had nothing to do with his unwillingness to look at what was in our relationship that he didn't like or that he didn't want to work on. And a lot of women that love sex eventually were like, I'm tired of this. I am the fuck out of here. When the kids were grown, I was like, I'm no longer willing to tolerate this bad sex. So I started telling him, this is what I like, this is what I would like to do. And I tried for 3 years, and it was heartbreaking. You know what I don't understand? What I don't understand, you guys, is how so many people just talk about their sexless relationship as, oh, my wife doesn't want to fuck me. Oh, we don't have that much sex. If it's not a great source of pain and disappointment. I myself in my marriage, I just got so tired of the bad sex we were having that I didn't even want sex anymore. I slept with the kids for probably 10 years because I got tired of being groped in the morning for a quickie. Guys, do you ever have sex with your wife when you're showered and you smell good and you're wearing your suit to go to work, or your shirt and tie to go to work, or you get home from a nice evening when you're looking at your best? I got so tired of being groped in the morning. Have you ever seen how guys look in the morning? They're not that hot. The hair is a little bit disheveled, They're not at their best. They're not that fuckable. Maybe early on or maybe once in a while, but every time. But then I hit my high libido phase. In my late 40s, I started getting super horny. And I started wanting to have sex with him because I was so horny. And then the sex was still bad. It was all quickies, and there was no emotional connection. It was just him getting off. And sometimes he would try to get me off, but by the time he got to me, he was so bored because he'd already come. It was hard for me to come. because he would just lay there. Um, so yeah, guys, I'm being very open because this might help some of you. And then I would talk about it. I'd be like, I was trying to figure out why it took me so long to come. Why I would have better orgasms and quicker orgasms when I was alone. So I said to him, I'm having a really hard time coming when you just lay there. Can't you just make some noises or moaning or somehow get into it? And he couldn't. For whatever his underlying issues were that he didn't want to take a look at. He finally agreed to go to a sex therapist with me, and I thought the problem was I took too long to come, which usually is like 10 or 20 minutes. And the sex therapist said 20 minutes was not too long. And we felt better after the appointment and we got closer, but then, he got back into his old habits. I divorced him finally. And I have to respect him for saying sex is only physical. I just don't last long. It's just how I am. I don't like to kiss. I don't like to open my eyes during sex. I don't want to play romantic music during sex. It's just how I am. And I have to respect him for not being a people pleaser. He didn't want to. Sex was just something he did to get off. And he didn't want it to last more than a few minutes. I mean, he would acquiesce, and every once in a while he would give me longer times, which I look forward to all week. So, but basically the intercourse was always very quick. So by the time I divorced in my early 50s, I was very curious because I was still so horny. I was like, okay, what could I experience sexually if I had intercourse with a guy that lasted more than a minute? Could I maybe come from it? How turned on could I get? So I set out on an adventure to find out, but first I wanted to experience sex with lesbians. I did this lesbian thing. And I wasn't really satisfied because I do like men. And I started trying to experiment with men. But for me, I'm not able to, with my ex-husband, I felt really turned on. I really wanted him. I was so aroused for him. I felt so much desire for him. And so it was very painful for me when it was over so quick. And so that was the other thing I wanted to say. How people can have these sexless marriages and still love their partner and want to be with their partner. Because I would be pissed and I would be hurt and I would be frustrated and I would live on hope. Hope that I could change him. Hope that I could make him see the light. And then the other thing that I realized too was that I cannot enjoy sex and I cannot get turned on in a hookup the way I felt turned on by him. That I noticed a connection between my heart and my genitals. So the more my heart was engaged, that I felt affectionate, that I felt desire, that I felt loved and secure and trusting by a man who's dominant, not a people pleaser. My ex-husband was not a people pleaser. He was just walled off. The more turned on I could get. So the amount I could get turned on in these hookup situations was really not that great. So I was really in the stuck place. Like, I want to explore my sexuality. I don't want to be with some old guy with ED. And I want to know what I can discover about myself. And so I was hoping to find a relationship. But some of these guys wanted to date me and some of them didn't. And for some reason or other, my life just evolved in a way that I didn't find a guy that I wanted to fuck again, that I would get into a relationship with. Because the guys that I really liked fucking again were really young guys. And the older guys always had something off to me. They were not interesting enough or they were not good enough in bed. And all of them that I thought were good in bed, they were younger. And maybe that had something to do with it. I really don't know. But I know guys are going to be like, oh, what'd you think? Some younger guy would want to date you. I didn't know. I was just willing to have an affair with a guy. I wasn't even really looking for a relationship, honestly. I just wanted to fuck a guy repeatedly. And then it got kind of intertwined as like, do I kind of like him? Not, because I'm not going to be able to enjoy sex at my fullest. This is just me. Unless I have, unless I'm in a relationship with this guy and I trust him. That's just me. Not all women are like me. There are women who can just, I guess they have a hookup with the guy and they're all turned on. They have all kinds of great experiences and orgasms and squirting and this and that. That's not me. It takes me a little bit more time to like trust this guy. And I think that's healthy. I actually think that's healthy because opening too quick is kind of like love bombing or falling for someone too quick. And I kind of need to kind of gradually get to know someone to be like, can I really trust you with my body, with my emotions? Can I really trust you? And the more I can trust you and feel for you, the more turned on I can get. And then that is kind of what I was looking for. And I think that's how a lot of women operate, you know? So that was my sexual journey. This video is just like way too long. I don't know if anyone is even still listening. But then what I noticed is I didn't like it when guys just had sex with me and blew me off. That was very painful to me. So after a couple years of hooking up with guys, I stopped hooking up. And then I became an escort. And when I was an escort, I did not feel used at all because I'm like, oh, they paid me. But when they didn't pay me, it felt very personal. I would think, why isn't he texting me, you know? But when they paid me, it didn't. I was like, oh, this was just an arrangement thing. And I could enjoy it at the same level, but I didn't ever feel used. Now, this is my experience. This is how I experienced it for many years, though. And even with my sugar daddies, I feel that same way. You know, we have these arrangements and we see each other and they take care of me. And I enjoy sex with them. Sometimes I have orgasms with them. And I get to explore my own sexuality, at least with them. And they're younger. They're fun to fuck. They're super into me. They think I'm beautiful. And so it really works well for me. And I guess I'm privileged. I guess it's because I'm privileged, because I'm white, I'm healthy, and I grew up with some privileges, economically, educationally, the way I was raised. If I were a disadvantaged woman of color, I wouldn't be in this situation. So I'm taking advantage of the situation, but I'm able to explore my sexuality. What I'm trying to say is that I have not been at the point where I could explore my sexuality in a relationship. Like the interview I did with Dr. Robert Glover, he has a really great sexual relationship with his wife. And I do not, and I guess even when she's mad, she wants his cock, you know. And I get from the interview with him that they have a really good relationship, that he's, leading in the relationship. He keeps positive emotional tension, and he's worked on delaying his ejaculation. He talked about how when he and his now wife were dating, he learned tantric sex so he could delay his ejaculation. You have to be able to be in control of your ejaculation. You have to be strong, confident, embodied, and not make it all about your dick. So you have to be able to enjoy the woman through words, through gaze, through touch, and enjoying her body, getting to know her body. And the more a woman feels safe and trusts you, the longer you can keep her aroused and build it up, the more she's going to enjoy the sex. I still, I may never get this relationship in which I can really enjoy sex. I've never met anyone where I was as turned on as I was with my husband. Those last few years I was with him. I've never met anyone like that. I've had good sex. I've had orgasms, but that's not the same. You want to get a woman to, by the time you're touching her privates, she's swollen and wet. Okay? That's what can happen if you are doing the right thing. If you're just sticking your dick in a dry vagina to get off and she needs lube, you're missing out. And a lot of guys are missing out as women are faking their orgasms because the guy's too selfish and he's willing to put up with a woman who's just laying there. And I wouldn't blame you if I did that too. I just laid there and endured it, but I didn't fake my orgasms because I was like, I'm not going to let this guy think he's getting me off. Fuck that. Because my first boyfriend I had when I was 16 and he was 21, I would be mad at him. Like, we would have sex, he would come, nothing for me. And I did that time, I was just young. I didn't have the confidence to say, well, this is how I masturbate. I'd like you to watch me, participate with me. I didn't say any of that. And I would just be mad at him. I'm like, he's the guy. He should know what he's doing. Ladies, they don't know what they're doing. A lot of them need help, and we have to speak up. I don't like this. The sex was really bad. You made it all about your dick. A lot of guys don't know that it shouldn't be all about their dick. All right? They have to be able to focus on the woman. A guy should be able to get turned on, turning on the woman. Ladies, that's what you want to look for. A guy who gets turned on, turning on the woman. He should get hard at being able to touch your genitals, make you come. He should want to make you come. It shouldn't be a chore or an obligation. He should want to. A healthy, sexually healthy man loves going down on a woman, loves touching a woman, loves seeing a woman masturbate, loves seeing a woman have pleasure. But the men who hate women, they don't want you to have pleasure. If they hate women or they have a resentment against you, they do not want you to have pleasure. Or if they're selfish and it's all about their dick and they're worried about their erection, they just want to get in there before it goes down. Whatever the reason is, their own anxiety or their resentment, and they do not get turned on seeing you have pleasure, run to the nearest therapist's office or the divorce court, or just close your legs. Because we women, we want to give our guys pleasure. We want to give our guys pleasure. And they should want to do the same thing to us. And if they don't, something's wrong with them. And a quickie is not pleasure. Okay? These guys they're walled off, or they're grandiose, or they have anxiety. For a guy to be good in bed, he has to be embodied. He has to be able to enjoy the woman, enjoy seeing her have pleasure. That's what I should call this video. That's why women don't want to have sex, because the guy is not enjoying her have pleasure. Because if the guy knows how to enjoy, if a guy enjoys seeing a woman in pleasure, he's going to notice that she's faking it, that she's pretending that she's not into it. He's going to notice, and he's going to be like, whoa, you're not into this? We're not fucking. That's what a confident man will say. I don't think you're into it. Or this is how I'm going to get you into it. Okay? And guys have a disadvantage because if a woman isn't wet, she can use lube. But a guy, his penis is out there for everyone to see. It's not working, quote unquote. I know a lot of women like to use lube. I'm opposed to using lube. If I need lube, you haven't turned me on. I'm either dehydrated or you haven't turned me on. So then it's a chance to check in. Why hasn't this guy turned me on? What is missing? What do I need? And we got to teach men. They don't know. They see porn. They're like, well, we're horny. She must be horny. I'll just stick it in and she's going to like it because the porn girls like it. Well, they're faking it. Porn is not a documentary. Sex is an embodied experience between two people who have empathy for each other. We're in our spiritual beings in animal form when we're having sex. You got to tune into your animal form and be emotionally attuned to the other person, and that the other person is also having pleasure. You got to be able to stay in your own pleasure and the other person's pleasure. And sometimes it goes back and forth, but when you're in a situation where the guy's just trying to get off and he doesn't care about the woman's pleasure, these guys are not guys that should ever be fucked. That's an internal thing that they need therapy for. That's an internal thing. If they're coming to the sexual encounter and they're too rushed, and it's all about their dick, they need therapy. Now, some guys will be very anxious the first time they're with a woman. They will have a lot of anxiety, and I would think that's fine. When the guys have a lot of anxiety, they really need to focus on the woman to take the pressure off their own dick, their own performance. They should really be able to tune in on the woman. And that's a way to redirect their energy. You know, you seem a little nervous. Just focus on enjoying my body. Give me a massage, you know. Just have him start, and that'll help him get embodied and relax and turn on, forget about his dick. I think that's the biggest reason women don't like sex, is because the man is selfish in bed, he's walled off, and he doesn't know how to enjoy her body, and he doesn't want her on some deep level to feel pleasure, because he's full of anxiety or he's walled off. And I sound mad because I am mad. I am mad about this situation. And it's very common, even among men who are very respectful or very kind. They say they want to please us, but they have so much anxiety. They have so much anxiety. And if I don't feel like a man wants to make it about me and enjoy me having pleasure, I'm not gonna relax enough to let myself have pleasure. I'm not gonna relax enough to let myself have pleasure if I feel the energy is off. If the man's anxious, you know, now I have to help him relax. Now I have to, you know, join the pity party about your dick that isn't working. Just forget about your dick. You know, so there's a lot of this internal stuff that goes on into having good sex without even talking about positions or anything like that. It's like, what are we here for? What do you care about? Is this just about you? Would you like to see a woman in pleasure without being a people pleaser? Not being a people pleaser, oh, I'm going to show her what a great lover I am. No. You like to see a woman having pleasure because you like a woman in pleasure. You're that selfish. That's a healthy guy. And I'm going to end it right there.